20 years. 20 years of shared memories, hard work, compromises, and what I thought was love. My wife Lisa and I met when we were both 19. She had this wild energy, confident, opinionated, a little sharp around the edges, but I liked that. She challenged me. She made me feel alive. And I thought we were a team. We got married 2 years later. Our wedding was small, backyard ceremony, lots of laughter. Her dad cried during the toast. Over time, we built a decent life together. I worked in IT. She climbed her way into marketing and eventually got promoted to manager. We raised 2 amazing kids, now both in college. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We took beach trips, laughed at old sitcoms, and hosted backyard barbecues in the summer. From the outside, we were couple goals, as our daughter once put it. But lately, something had changed. About a year ago, Lisa started focusing on herself. That's how she put it. Joined a gym. Got her hair done more frequently. Started dressing more provocatively. I encouraged her. I thought maybe she was just reclaiming some confidence after the empty nest phase hit. I figured maybe she was going through a midlife shift and needed space. I was supportive, at first. Then the secrecy started. She started guarding her phone like it was nuclear codes. Changed her lock screen, stopped leaving it on the counter, turned it over whenever I walked into the room. If I asked a question, even casual, like, "Who were you texting?" I'd get a snippy, "Why do you always assume the worst?" Or, "God, are you this insecure?" She'd come home late from work meetings, looking different. Flushed. Distant. Sometimes she'd come back without her wedding ring, and when I pointed it out, she'd scoff and say she took it off to work out. She stopped asking how my day was. Stopped hugging me good night. Sex became non-existent. I tried to talk to her, but she said I was suffocating her, and that I should just let her breathe. I started feeling like a guest in my own home. Like I was intruding on her new life. Our conversations turned transactional, grocery lists, bills, reminders about our son's tuition. And I swallowed my doubts. Told myself this was just a phase. That maybe I was the problem. Then came our 20th anniversary. I wanted to bring the spark back. I went all out, made reservations at the same Italian place where we celebrated our first anniversary. Requested the same booth. Ordered her favorite wine in advance. I even bought her a necklace, custom made, sterling silver, engraved with "Forever, no matter what." I worked overtime for months to afford it. She was late to dinner. 15 minutes, maybe a bit more. I wasn't mad, just nervous, hoping she'd like the surprise. But when she walked in, she wasn't alone. She brought him. Tall. Tatted. Leather jacket. Smug expression. She strolled in like it was completely normal, like she wasn't turning my entire world upside down in public. She kissed my cheek half-heartedly and slid into the booth with this guy right beside her. My heart sank. "This is Kyle," she said with a calm, clipped tone. "He's living with us now." I stared at her, blinking. I thought she was joking. That this was some sick prank. "What?" I said, almost laughing from disbelief. She looked annoyed. "Don't make a scene. We've been seeing each other for almost a year." I didn't think it was fair to keep lying. Kyle just smirked at me, like he was proud. Like I was the idiot in the room. He leaned back like it was his booth. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands were still holding the velvet box with the necklace inside. The waiter came by, awkward silence, and Lisa casually ordered calamari, flipping through the menu like this was any other dinner. That was the moment I stopped feeling hurt. I started planning. I didn't flip the table. I didn't yell. I didn't storm out, though every part of my body was screaming to do just that. Something in me just snapped into place. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You can't stop it, but you can choose how you react. I smiled. I nodded like I understood, like it all made sense now. Because it did. I sat there quietly as Lisa and her affair partner, Kyle, laughed and ordered food like we were having a normal dinner. I didn't touch my wine. I didn't say much. I let them talk. I watched them exchange these smug glances, like they were getting off on humiliating me. Lisa even made a point to touch his hand across the table. She said things like, "We didn't mean to hurt you, and we're just following our hearts." Right. Her heart just happened to wander into our house and settle between my sheets. For a year. At one point she said, "This is why I didn't tell you earlier. You're too sensitive." Too sensitive. After 20 years of marriage. After 2 kids. After sacrificing promotions and travel opportunities so I could stay close to home and raise them while she advanced her career. Too sensitive. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "That's great. Congratulations to you both." She blinked, confused. "What?" I smiled wider. "You said he's living with us now. That's fine. I'll be moving out tomorrow." That wiped the grin off Kyle's face. "Wait, what? You're just gonna leave the house?" "Not quite," I said. "You'll see." I got up, dropped a $100 bill on the table, and walked out. I never looked back. Not at Lisa. Not at Kyle. I didn't need to. Their world was about to collapse, and they had no clue. On the drive home, I called my lawyer. Thank God I had him on retainer after my brother's messy divorce last year. He picked up immediately. "Hey, Sam," I said. "I need to initiate a divorce. Immediately. And I need you to freeze everything she can access in the meantime." He didn't even ask why. "Got it. I'll have the paperwork started tonight. Need anything else?" "Oh, and one more thing," I said. "Can you get a PI involved? I need proof of infidelity. Preferably photos. If she's stupid enough to bring him into the house, this should be easy." He let out a low whistle. "Yikes. Yeah, I'll connect with a guy. Discreet. You okay?" I lied. "Yeah. I'm fine." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the guest room scrolling through every photo I had of Lisa on my phone. Photos from our trips. From our kids' graduations. Her 40th birthday party. Every image now felt like a lie, like I was looking at a stranger who had been pretending to love me. The next morning, I packed a single bag. I walked into the kitchen where she was sipping her overpriced almond milk latte like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said flatly, not even looking up. "You sure you want to make this dramatic? We can work something out. An open marriage might not be the worst thing." I cut her off. "I'm not interested in sharing my wife. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." She snorted. "God, you're so old-fashioned." I left without saying another word. What she didn't know was that I wasn't moving out permanently. I was moving out long enough to build my case. And I had more ammunition than she could ever imagine. I moved into a small Airbnb less than 10 minutes away. It was quiet, clean, and most importantly, out of sight. Lisa assumed I had gone to sulk. That's how she phrased it in a text 2 days later. "Hope you're not still sulking. You'll see this is better for all of us." Yeah. Nothing says better like getting blindsided at dinner with your replacement. Within 48 hours, my lawyer filed the initial divorce paperwork. He also connected me with a private investigator, a retired cop named Raymond who looked like he ate cheaters for breakfast. I met with him over coffee, gave him the details, and he nodded through all of it. "She moved the guy in already?" Raymond said, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah. Perfect. Easiest paycheck I'll make this month." Raymond placed cameras around the exterior of the house. Nothing illegal, just covering what I already owned. He parked a disguised van nearby with a long lens camera pointed directly at my front door. It didn't take long. Kyle made himself at home. Photos started rolling in. Him walking around shirtless, taking out the trash, grabbing her ass on the porch like he owned the place. And Lisa? She was glowing. Acting like a teenager in love. Like she hadn't just nuked 2 decades of marriage. Raymond even got footage of Kyle driving my car, yes, my car. Lisa must have given him a spare key. That was a breaking point I hadn't prepared for. I didn't even get angry, I got calm. Dead calm. Meanwhile, I began quietly moving chess pieces behind the scenes. I called our joint financial advisor and froze our shared accounts. Told them we were divorcing and that any large withdrawals required both our signatures. She must have found out a few days later because I got a text, "Did you really freeze our accounts?" Seriously. I didn't respond. I also filed an emergency motion to have exclusive use of the house restored to me. Since she had moved her affair partner in, that counted as adulterous cohabitation in our state. The judge granted the motion temporarily, pending court. Lisa had no clue this was happening. In the meantime, she sent me a few crumbs of fake concern. "Hope you're okay. You should try dating again, might help you move on. You're being really immature about this." Immature. I had sacrificed years of my life, been loyal to a fault, and she had the audacity to say I was immature because I didn't want to play third wheel in my own home. But the real kicker? She started posting pictures on social media. Cute couple selfies. Hashtags like #newbeginnings and #reallove. People who didn't know the story were commenting things like, "You deserve happiness," and "Love wins." I didn't comment. I didn't even message anyone to explain. I let her dig her own grave. And she did. Beautifully. I had the evidence, the legal steps in motion, and a plan I hadn't revealed to anyone, not even my lawyer yet. All I had to do was wait. Because she was about to get served. And not just with divorce papers. 2 weeks after the anniversary ambush, the doorbell rang at exactly 7:15 a.m. Lisa answered it wearing one of my old t-shirts, ironic, considering she'd tossed me out of my own house like I was yesterday's trash. The process server handed her the envelope with a polite "good morning," then turned and walked away like it was just another Tuesday. It was. Inside the envelope. Divorce papers, a cease and desist for use of shared property, a list of frozen accounts, and, most deliciously, a formal motion for exclusive use of the home based on adultery and unlawful cohabitation. I watched it all unfold through the Ring camera I never disconnected from my phone. She opened the envelope right there on the porch. Kyle came up behind her, shirtless, holding a bowl of cereal. The moment she read the motion, her face went pale. Kyle read over her shoulder, his smirk slowly draining. I almost popped popcorn. 10 minutes later, she called me. I didn't pick up. She tried again. Then texted. "Lisa, are you kidding me? You're seriously evicting me from our house?" "What the hell, my name?" "Me, no. I'm evicting your boyfriend. You're free to leave with him." She didn't respond after that. By noon, I got a message from my attorney. Her lawyer reached out and wanted to discuss options. Suddenly, the tone had shifted. Lisa was no longer the smug woman flaunting her affair over anniversary tiramisu. She was facing consequences, and for the first time, it wasn't cute or fun. 2 days later, we had a preliminary hearing. Lisa showed up looking like a completely different person. Gone were the flashy clothes and cocky attitude. She was nervous, clearly rattled. Kyle didn't even come. I guess being part of the circus stopped being fun when the tent caught fire. My lawyer laid it all out: infidelity, cohabitation with her affair partner, misuse of joint assets, and emotional distress. We presented the PI photos, the security footage, and a detailed timeline. Lisa's lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. The judge didn't make a final ruling that day, but he did grant my motion for exclusive use of the house until the divorce was finalized. Lisa had 10 days to vacate. Kyle? He had to leave within 72 hours. When the judge banged that gavel, I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just breathed. Deep and clean, like I hadn't in months. That night, she texted again. Not angry this time. Desperate. Lisa, can we please talk? This has gotten out of control. It's not what I wanted. Me, you wanted him. You got him. You don't get to want my house, too. No reply. I heard through mutual friends that Kyle packed up and left the day after the hearing. Apparently he didn't sign up for courtrooms, lawyers, or having to pay rent. I guess playing house with a married woman was only fun when there were no consequences. By the end of the week, Lisa was gone too. The house was mine again. But that wasn't the end of my revenge. Because what she didn't know was that I wasn't just after a clean divorce. I was after truth. And I was going to make sure everyone she lied to got a front row seat. With Lisa and Kyle officially out of the house, you'd think I would have felt peace. But no. I felt this mix of numbness and fuel. Like my body was running on spite and caffeine. The silence in the house was deafening, but every empty drawer and missing framed photo just reminded me why I had to finish what I started. See, Lisa didn't just cheat. She lied to everyone. Our kids, our family, our friends. She painted herself as some oppressed wife who was rediscovering her joy, and me as this boring, cold man who didn't understand her anymore. And people bought it. I didn't fight back at first. I stayed quiet. Let them draw their own conclusions. But now I had proof. And I decided it was time to set the record straight, publicly. Enter Sunday dinner. Our kids were home for a long overdue visit. Lisa had been invited originally, but since she was busy with her new life, she didn't even bother to RSVP. Probably thought she was doing us a favor. That left me with a golden opportunity. I made lasagna, our family favorite, and invited her parents, her sister, and a few close friends from our neighborhood. I didn't give them a heads up. Just told them it was important. That I had something to share. They all showed up assuming this was some post-divorce group hug. About halfway through the meal, when the conversation drifted toward "Lisa seems happy lately" and "we all just want what's best," I stood up and said, "I want to show you all something." I turned on the TV, screen mirrored my phone, and played a 3-minute montage Raymond, the PI, helped me put together. Photos. Time-stamped videos. Side-by-side comparisons of her anniversary dinner betrayal and her Instagram posts. Even Kyle driving my car while shirtless. I included a voice recording from a conversation she had with him, caught from the Ring doorbell mic, where she said, and I quote, "He'll never find out, he's too soft to question me." The room went dead silent. Her dad looked like he was going to have a heart attack. Her sister started crying. Our daughter stormed out of the room, visibly shaken. Our son just sat there, jaw clenched, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. I ended it with a simple statement. I was never the perfect husband. But I was loyal. I was present. And I didn't deserve this. None of us did. Her mother whispered, "She lied to all of us." I nodded. Yeah. She did. And I stayed quiet because I didn't want to embarrass anyone. But that ship sailed the night she brought him to our anniversary dinner and told me he was moving in. Her best friend, who had been defending her online for weeks, just stared at her plate like it had personally betrayed her. After dinner, one by one, everyone came up to apologize. For doubting me. For believing her. Even her dad shook my hand and said, "You deserved better." I didn't feel vindicated. Not yet. Because Lisa still hadn't faced me directly. She hadn't seen what I'd done. But she was about to. And I was going to make sure she saw every single reaction. 2 days after the Sunday dinner, Lisa showed up at the house. No call. No warning. Just knocked on the door like nothing had happened. I watched her through the peephole for a full 30 seconds before opening it. She looked different, hair pulled back, no makeup, oversized hoodie. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I married buried somewhere under the wreckage. Then she opened her mouth. "Can we talk?" she asked, like we were just neighbors having a disagreement about a noisy dog. I stepped aside. Not because I wanted her in the house, but because I wanted her to see it, how clean it was now, how everything of hers was boxed up and waiting near the garage. She walked in slowly, looking around like she was inspecting a museum of her old life. I saw the group chat," she said after a long pause. "You really showed that video to my parents." "Everyone who needed to see it," I said calmly. "They deserved the truth." She scoffed, arms folded. "You humiliated me." I laughed, genuinely. "You humiliated yourself." I just turned the lights on. That struck a nerve. Her jaw clenched. "I made a mistake, okay," she said, pacing now. "I was lonely. You were always working. I didn't feel seen. And Kyle, he made me feel wanted." I could have let her finish. But I was done entertaining delusions. "You were seen," I said. "You were loved. And you threw it all away for a guy who dipped the second court got involved." That shut her up. She looked down at her shoes. "He left," I added. "Or did you kick him out?" She hesitated. "Then, he said he couldn't deal with the drama." I smiled. "So he was only in it for the thrill." "Good to know." There was a long, awkward silence. Then she said it. "I want to fix things." I blinked. "You what?" "I've been thinking about everything. I miss the life we had. Maybe we could go to counseling, take it slow, work through this. People make mistakes." She was serious. She honestly thought she could burn the house down and then move back in after the smoke cleared. I stared at her for a beat. Then I walked into the kitchen, grabbed the envelope I'd prepared, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked, not taking it right away. "The finalized divorce terms. I had them drafted early, just in case. You wanted freedom, Lisa. Here it is, in black and white." She didn't take it. She just stood there, blinking rapidly, her lip quivering. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You think this is easy for me," she whispered. "I gave you 20 years of my life." "No," I said quietly. "You sold 20 years of my life for 12 months of lies. And now you're broke." She took the envelope then. Her hands were shaking. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't offer a hug. I just watched her walk out the front door for what I knew would be the last time. And it didn't feel like a loss. It felt like freedom. When the door clicked shut behind Lisa, it felt like someone had finally stopped screaming in the back of my mind. Their house, for the first time in what felt like forever, was silent, and it wasn't the suffocating silence I used to dread. It was peaceful. The kind of silence that let you finally hear your own thoughts. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just stood there for a few minutes, breathing. Breathing in the relief, the grief, and everything in between. It wasn't the end of a love story, it was the end of a war I didn't even know I was drafted into. That night, I went through our old photo albums. Not out of nostalgia, but closure. I didn't want to burn them or trash them. That felt immature. I just wanted to look back one last time before letting go. There were pictures from our first road trip, the day we moved into our home, the time we both got food poisoning and still tried to smile through it for a selfie. I wasn't erasing history, I was accepting it for what it was. Good moments weren't fake just because the ending was ugly. But I also wasn't going to let those good moments blind me to their betrayal. The kids checked in with me separately. Our daughter texted, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I defended her and I feel so stupid." I replied, "Don't. She fooled all of us. You loved your mom, and that's never wrong." Our son sent, "I'm proud of how you handled it. I'd have lost it if someone did that to me. That one hit harder than I expected. I'd worried about how they'd view me, if they'd think I was weak, or bitter, or pathetic. But they saw the truth. Eventually, everyone did. A week later, Lisa tried again. She sent an email this time, long, rambling, half regret, half justification. She said Kyle was a temporary lapse, that she got caught up in the attention, the validation, that she didn't think I'd ever leave because I was too stable. Her words, not mine. She said she didn't expect me to move on so quickly. That seeing everyone turn on her had been humiliating. That she missed her old life. That she missed me. I didn't reply. She made her choice. She broke something that couldn't be repaired. And for once in my life, I wasn't going to play the role of the understanding, self-sacrificing husband. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, just in case, and then blocked her. No more explanations. No more apologies. No more access to me. I spent the next few days cleaning out the house, donating her clothes, repainting rooms, changing sheets. Not out of spite. But because I needed the space to feel like mine again. Like I wasn't living in a mausoleum of a dead marriage. I even planted a small garden in the backyard. Something simple, just tomatoes, basil, and a few flowers. It wasn't about the plants. It was about growth. About starting something new with my own hands. It was the first time in a long time I felt like I was living again, not just surviving. After cleaning out the last of Lisa's things, I took a few days to just breathe. No lawyers. No texts. No drama. I sat in the backyard one afternoon, coffee in hand, and just listened to the wind for once. It felt strange, honestly, like my body had forgotten what peace sounded like. That house used to feel like a shared space. Every corner had Lisa's fingerprints on it. Now, for the first time in 20 years, it belonged to me. And I don't mean legally. I mean spiritually. The energy had shifted. Of course, not everything settled so neatly. Lisa's side of the family was split. Her dad called to apologize again, which I appreciated, even if it was a little late. Her sister, who'd once told me to just let her be happy, sent me a long, guilt-soaked message. Turns out, Lisa had lied to her too. Claimed I'd emotionally checked out years ago, that I was neglectful, distant, even borderline abusive. Yeah. She said that. Thankfully, now that the truth had come out, and especially after Sunday dinner, her narrative didn't hold water anymore. Everyone saw the footage. They saw her words, her behavior, her smug confidence as she brought another man to our anniversary dinner like it was a group date. The fallout was massive. She was forced to take a leave of absence from work, for mental health reasons. I didn't dig too deep, but one of her co-workers, a friend of mine, actually, told me Kyle used to show up at her office, pick her up like they were high schoolers, and brag about stealing her away from a loser husband. Once that story hit the office grapevine, she became a walking scandal. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. But while she was spinning out, I was building momentum. I signed the divorce settlement, simple, clean. I let her keep the SUV and a modest portion of savings. Why? Because revenge isn't always about destroying the other person. Sometimes, it's about letting them live with what they did and knowing you're too solid to be pulled into the wreckage. Meanwhile, I started reconnecting with life. I got back into shape. I went back to therapy. Yeah, I know, not a popular move for a tough guy, but screw the stigma. And for the first time in years, I started sleeping through the night. The only thing that still haunted me. The kids. They weren't kids anymore, but damn, did this mess hit them hard. Our daughter, especially. She'd idolized Lisa. To see her mom implode like that, lie to everyone, then try to crawl back once things crumbled, it shook her. We had a long talk one night. I just don't understand how someone can do that to the people they love, she said, her voice cracking. I didn't give her some cheesy line about people making mistakes. I said, some people only love others when they are getting something from it. That's not love. That's convenience. She nodded slowly. I'm proud of you, Dad. That hit deeper than anything Lisa ever said to me in 20 years. It reminded me why I chose peace over pettiness. Why I didn't scream or smash plates or burn her clothes on the lawn. Because I still had people in my life worth protecting. People who were watching me to learn how to handle betrayal and heartbreak like a man, not a maniac. And I wasn't done. Because the biggest surprise was still coming. So, about that surprise. I never set out for revenge. Not in the classic, scorched earth kind of way. But sometimes, karma just gives you a loaded gun and waits to see if you pull the trigger. After the divorce was finalized, I went through their house one more time to deep clean and reorganize. That's when I found the old fireproof lockbox in the attic. You know the type, where you stash important documents, passports, spare keys. It was one Lisa and I hadn't used in years, or so I thought. I cracked it open, expecting nothing more than dusty paperwork. But inside were folders. One of them was labeled personal. And inside that folder, a stack of printed emails and screenshots. Messages between Lisa and Kyle, and a few others. That's when my stomach turned. Turns out, Kyle wasn't the only guy she'd been with during the marriage. There were at least 3 others over the span of 5 years. Different cities. Different names. She'd gone full double life. Hotel bookings. Late night emails. Photos I wish I could unsee. One message to a guy named Chris literally read, "He's so passive, it's almost boring to sneak around." Another, dated during our 18th anniversary weekend trip to Charleston, said, "Can't wait to be in your bed again. I hate pretending I'm happy here." I sat there, staring at those pages for what felt like hours. All this time, I thought Kyle was the first and only. The one-off mistake. Nope. She'd been playing me for years. It changed everything. Not in a heartbreak way, I'd already grieved the marriage, but in a "now I understand just how deep the rot goes" kind of way. At first, I thought about burning the folder. Letting it die with the past. But then I had an idea. One final nail in the coffin. Lisa had been trying to rehab her image since the divorce. She made a whole growth and healing post on Facebook, talking about how their pain of ending a marriage made her stronger, and how she hoped everyone could forgive her someday. She even went on a podcast her sister co-hosted and did this half-assed, "I was in a dark place" spiel, painting herself as a confused woman trapped in a loveless relationship. So I mailed the folder anonymously to her sister, with a post-it that read, "Here's their dark place. Hope your next podcast has better research." Petty? Maybe. But after watching her parade lies in front of people I cared about, after she invited her affair partner to our anniversary dinner like it was casual, I figured a little honesty wasn't out of line. Her sister never responded directly. But 3 days later, the podcast episode was pulled offline. Her healing journey Instagram post was deleted. And all of a sudden, Lisa went radio silent. I guess truth doesn't pair well with curated self-pity. And just like that, the final thread snapped. No more texts. No more emails. No more attempts to play victim. She vanished from my world like a ghost trying to escape a house it no longer haunts. And I felt lighter. But the story's not over yet. Because something unexpected happened right after that. And it came in the form of someone I least expected. I wasn't looking for anything. I need to say that up front. After 20 years of marriage imploded, the last thing on my mind was dating. I was focused on healing, rebuilding, finding some damn peace for once in my life. So when I got a call from Megan, Lisa's best friend, I almost didn't answer. Megan and Lisa had been inseparable since college. She was the maid of honor at our wedding. I always thought she was the loyal ride-or-die type, defended Lisa fiercely, always had her back. We were never close, but she was around a lot, especially in the early years. Then she kind of drifted as we all got older, had kids, and life happened. After the affair came to light, Megan had stayed quiet. No public support for Lisa. No Instagram likes. No group chat drama. Just silence. So yeah, I was surprised when I saw her name on my screen. I picked up, expecting tension. Maybe even anger. Instead, she said, "Hey. I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there holding the phone." She kept going. "She told me things, made it sound like you were distant, emotionally checked out, always cold." I believed her. I'm not proud of that. But after the dinner? After you showed the truth? I started replaying conversations. And, yeah. I realized she was playing all of us. She sounded upset. Not performative. Genuine. I hate that I let her lie to me for that long, she said quietly. There was a long pause. Then she said, "Can I take you to lunch?" Now look, my first instinct was no. Hell no. She was Lisa's best friend. That was messy. That was walking straight into Drama City with a blindfold on. But something about the way she said it, gentle, no pressure, made me curious. So I said yes. We met at this little bistro downtown. Nothing romantic, just two people who had been orbiting the same wreckage trying to find air. And it was good. Easy. We talked. She didn't ask about Lisa much, just about how I was really doing. And when I told her everything, the betrayal, the layers, the fallout, she didn't pity me. She just listened. With the kind of quiet respect you rarely get from people who think they already know your story. At one point she said, "She never deserved you." I didn't know how to respond. No one had said that to me, not even my own family. We parted ways with a hug. Just a hug. But it felt like the first human contact I'd had in a long time that didn't come with pity, judgment, or tension. Over the next few weeks, we texted a few times. She'd send random check-ins. Articles about healing after betrayal. Even a photo of a burnt grilled cheese that made me laugh harder than I had in months. It was easy. Then one day, she texted, "I know this might sound crazy, but I don't think I ever really knew who Lisa was. And now that I do, I keep wondering why I kept her around so long." I replied, half joking, "Trauma bonding." She responded, "Maybe. But if that's true, then I'm kind of glad the trauma ended with her. Because I don't think I've ever enjoyed talking to someone more than I do you." I stared at that message for a while. And for the first time since everything went to hell, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I didn't jump into anything with Megan. I want to make that clear. After everything I'd been through, the idea of dating, even casually, felt like walking barefoot through a minefield. But something about Megan made it easy to be human again. There was no pressure, no weird energy, no unspoken expectations. Just two people who knew pain, who'd seen the worst of someone we both trusted, and who were just trying to heal without pretending everything was fine. We started meeting for coffee every Saturday. Then it turned into hiking trails on Sunday mornings. She wasn't athletic, not by a long shot. She joked that her cardio was yelling at drivers on the freeway, but she came along, just to talk, to walk, to breathe in something new. She said I made her feel safe. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that until she said it. Meanwhile, Lisa's presence faded like smoke. Word had gotten around. Her lies had come full circle. Most of her friends quietly distanced themselves. Her family stopped posting her pictures. I found out through a mutual acquaintance that she had tried reconciling with Kyle after her mental break, only for him to ghost her again when her financial cushion disappeared. Actions. Meet consequences. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not even a little. I felt free. One evening, Megan came over with a bottle of wine and some terrible 90s rom-coms she swore were mandatory heartbreak recovery cinema. We sat on the couch, laughing at terrible dialogue and eating greasy takeout, and somewhere between the second movie and the third glass of wine, she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. And I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just sat there, soaking in the stillness, the warmth of someone who didn't betray me, lie to me, or make me feel like a burden. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. Nothing happened. We didn't even kiss. But it was the first time I let someone close without the wall going up. The next morning, she apologized for falling asleep. I told her not to. That it had been the best night I'd had in years. She smiled. Not flirtatious. Not calculated. Just real. And it hit me then. The revenge wasn't the court orders, or the public humiliation, or even the silence that followed. The real revenge was living a better life. A life that didn't include her. A life where I didn't have to check texts for lies, or smile through resentment, or sleep next to someone wondering what secrets were hiding behind a locked phone. Megan wasn't the point of my healing. But she was proof that healing was possible. That maybe, just maybe, you could build something real after the wreckage. And the wildest part. Lisa texted me again that week. I hadn't heard from her in over a month. It was short, bitter, and came completely out of the blue. Lisa, so you're with her now? Wow. Guess you didn't waste any time. I didn't reply. But I took a screenshot, and for the first time ever, I laughed at one of her messages. Because if she was watching me heal. And there's no better view than the one she gave up. I didn't expect her to spiral, honestly. I thought after the last text, the one where she threw shade about me moving on, she'd slink away for good. But nope. Lisa wasn't done making a fool of herself. A week after that message, she went full drama queen on Facebook. She posted one of those long, passive-aggressive status updates, the kind where someone claims they're done being silent while simultaneously telling half-truths to bait sympathy. It started with, "It's hard being the villain in someone else's story," and spiraled into a rant about betrayal, emotional abandonment, and how some people move on too fast because they never really loved you to begin with. Yeah. She never mentioned my name, of course. But she tagged her sister, and a few people we both knew. Enough breadcrumbs to make it obvious. I didn't even need to defend myself, everyone who mattered already knew the truth. And more importantly, I was done justifying my life to anyone, especially her. But that post? It had consequences. Because Megan saw it. And so did our daughter. And neither of them stayed quiet. Megan, who had kept her distance from the public mudslinging, finally commented. "It's not being the villain. It's facing consequences. Own your story, don't rewrite his." And our daughter, bless her, dropped a nuke. "You brought your boyfriend to our family's 20th anniversary dinner. Then you moved him into their house before the ink was dry. You don't get to play the victim now." Lisa deleted the post within an hour. I should have felt triumphant. But all I really felt was, done. Not angry. Not gloating. Just finally, mercifully done. That same night, Megan came over. I didn't say anything at first. We just sat on the porch, drinking tea, watching the sun go down over the backyard. "You okay?" she asked eventually. I nodded. "Yeah. Actually, yeah. For the first time in a long time, I really am." She leaned her head against my shoulder, and for a while, we just sat there in silence, the kind of silence that isn't heavy. The kind that says, "You made it out the other side." I didn't expect to fall for someone again. And I'm still not sure what this thing with Megan is, exactly. Maybe it's the start of something. Maybe it's just comfort after chaos. But whatever it is, it's honest. It's simple. And it's real. And that's more than I ever had in the last 5 years of my marriage. I told her that night, she thought bringing him to that dinner would break me. Megan looked up and smiled. She forgot who she married. I smiled back. Not because it was clever. But because she was right. Lisa thought she'd humiliate me. Instead, she freed me. After the dust from Lisa's public meltdown settled, I decided it was time to do something I'd been putting off, clear out the attic. It was mostly boxes we hadn't touched in years, old tax returns, broken Christmas lights, that hideous faux fur blanket she insisted on keeping. But tucked in the back corner were 3 large containers labeled memories. I opened one and instantly felt the weight of the past hit me in the chest. Photos from vacations where I was smiling but already starting to feel alone. Cards she'd written, full of love and promises that clearly expired. Baby clothes from when the kids were little, tiny socks, hospital bracelets, a stuffed lamb our daughter carried around until its eye fell off. It was grief, but it wasn't for her. It was for me, the version of myself who genuinely believed I had something unbreakable. The man who made sacrifices thinking he was protecting something sacred. The guy who sat in that restaurant with a velvet box in his hand and a necklace that would never be worn. I spent the whole weekend sorting through those boxes. Some things I kept, for the kids, for myself. Others, I tossed without hesitation. But what struck me most wasn't what I found. It was how different I felt while doing it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was letting go. Sunday afternoon, I called the kids and asked if they wanted to come by next weekend. Just the 3 of us. No drama. No tension. Just food and laughter. They both said yes immediately. Our daughter texted afterward, "I miss being around you when you're happy." I think we all need that again. That one hit me hard. Because for so long, I hadn't realized how much of my unhappiness had soaked into them, how the weight of Lisa's manipulation and deceit had trickled down through all of us. Like we'd all been breathing toxic air and thought it was normal. But it wasn't. And we were finally, clearing the air. Later that night, Megan stopped by. No plans, no expectations, she just brought over a pie she baked from scratch, which was wildly impressive, considering she once set off a smoke alarm boiling water. We sat on the back deck, under string lights I'd finally fixed, and ate pie straight from the dish. "I saw you donated those old patio chairs," she said. I nodded. They were hers. Couldn't stand to sit in them anymore. "You're really doing it," she said, smiling softly. "Starting over." I looked around. The yard. The house. The peace. "I guess I am." She reached over, gently took my hand, and for a while, neither of us said anything. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some fireworks finale like in the movies. It was quiet. It was steady. It was real. Lisa had tried to break me at that anniversary dinner. Instead, she gave me permission to become someone stronger. And that guy? He wasn't done yet. It's funny how revenge changes shape the further away you get from a hurt. At first, I wanted Lisa to feel it. All of it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the shame. I wanted her world to crumble the way mine did when she strolled into that restaurant with her boy toy and that smug, "his living with us now" tone, like she was ordering dessert instead of detonating our marriage. And for a while, yeah, I got that. She lost friends. Burned bridges. Made a public mess. Her carefully curated victim narrative collapsed the moment facts came out. She flailed, lashed out, tried playing the redemption arc, and then finally disappeared into silence. But as time passed, I realized, watching her fall apart didn't heal me. What did? Was everything that came after. Reconnecting with my kids. They were coming over more often. The laughter returned, the unforced kind. Game nights. Bad jokes. Actual conversation. Our son helped me replant the garden beds. Our daughter baked cookies with Megan, and they bonded over roasting me for burning toast. The house didn't feel like a graveyard anymore. It felt like a home again. Megan and I? We were still taking it slow, intentionally. We didn't rush labels. Didn't force timelines. She had her own wounds to process, 20 years of being Lisa's closest friend and not seeing who she really was. But somehow, those parallel betrayals made us safer with each other. We had scars, but they matched. One night, we were watching a movie, something dumb and loud, and during a quiet part she turned to me and asked, "Do you think you'll ever get married again?" I paused, not because I was unsure, but because the question no longer triggered panic. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm not afraid of love anymore." She smiled, leaned her head on my shoulder. "Good. Because you've still got a lot of it to give." That moment stuck with me. Not because of what it implied about us, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. I went from a man blindsided at a dinner table, holding a gift for someone who'd already thrown him away, to a man who no longer lived in reaction to her choices. I wasn't carrying her betrayal anymore. I wasn't living to prove something. I wasn't stuck in rage or grief or bitterness. I was present. With people who mattered. In moments that were real. And Lisa? She was a story I used to tell. A lesson. A chapter one no longer reread. The irony is, she thought bringing Kyle to that dinner would break me. Humiliate me. End me. What it actually did was set me free. Not just from her, but from the version of myself that kept shrinking to fit someone else's needs. And if there's one final piece of revenge in all of this, it's that I got to become the man I should have been all along. Not in spite of what she did, but because I finally let go of what I never deserved to hold onto in the first place. So here it is. The end of the story. Not the kind of ending you picture when you walk down the aisle with someone, hand in hand, all naive optimism and forever promises. But maybe, just maybe, it's the ending I actually needed. A few weeks ago, I stood in that same restaurant. The one where it all blew up. The booth, the same. The tablecloths, the same. Even the waiter was the same guy from that night. I came with Megan. Not to reclaim anything. Just to sit across from someone who saw me, not the version of me someone needed to manipulate. There was no necklace. No script. Just wine, conversation, and laughter that wasn't forced. She held my hand across the table and said, "You don't owe her a single page of your future." And damn if that didn't hit me right in the chest. Because for so long, I thought I needed closure. Answers. Justice. An apology. But standing in that same place, looking around and feeling no rage, no bitterness, just calm. That was closure. Lisa never got her happy ending with Kyle. Last I heard, she was living alone, bouncing jobs, unfollowed by most of our mutual circle. Her new beginning lasted about as long as it took for reality to set in. And me? I got peace. I got my kids back. I got freedom. I got someone who makes me laugh on bad days and sits with me through the quiet ones. I got a second chance, one I never expected, but damn sure don't take for granted. To anyone still stuck in the shockwave of betrayal, wondering if the pain ever lets up. It does. Not because they apologize. Not because karma strikes back in dramatic fashion. But because one day, you stop letting their choices define your worth. One day, you look in the mirror and see someone stronger, not in spite of what they did, but because you survived it. To the folks who messaged me privately, to the ones still reading through this ridiculous, messy journey, thank you. If you take anything from this, let it be this. Sometimes your greatest heartbreak is just the universe clearing the path. Not for revenge. Not for ego. But for something real. And maybe that's the best revenge of all.